Please, I'd like to ask everyone if they would take their seats, and the governor is on a tight time frame. I'd ask everyone if they could just turn their cell phones off. I'm not going to introduce everybody that's here today. First of all, let me say my name is Ray Jones. I'm the Pike County Judge Executive, and we have experienced a significant flood event, which as we stand here today has claimed approximately 3 lives. We do think that there are potentially additional fatalities. We don't know that. There are individuals who are missing. We have hundreds of structures, both business and residential, that have been damaged, and a lot of the individuals who have been harmed by this flood have been also damaged in recent floods, some as recent as the July 28, 2022 event. I have been in constant communication with Governor Beshear and his staff, including Eric Gibson in Emergency Management and Transportation Secretary Jim Gray. I also want to thank the members of the Kentucky State Police, the Pike County Sheriff's Department, the Coal Run Police, and all of the fire departments, EMS, and rescue squad personnel who have assisted in both the rescue and in the current rescue and recovery operations. I'm not going to take too much of your time. We'll try to answer some questions later on. At this time, I would like to ask Governor Andy Beshear to come up.
Thanks, Judge. First, I want to thank your county judge, your mayors, but most importantly, all your first responders for the incredible job that they have been doing. We just got hit by one of the most significant natural disasters we've seen in our lifetime, and that's after seeing a lot of significant disasters. The fact with the damage and the water that we've seen, that thus far we only have 3 confirmed fatalities in Pike County, means your first responders are the very best. And we hope that we augmented them with teams from other places and other parts of the state. And I will tell you, we pre-positioned assets for this flood better than I've seen in any previous disaster. My message is we're going to be here for you. Team Kentucky is going to give you our very best. Pike County is probably hit harder than any other place in this state. But we're going to show up and make sure your families get the very best treatment that we can, and we will dig out, we will muck out, we'll rebuild every single structure that's here, and we'll make sure that there is a bright future for Pike County. I want to specifically thank Emergency Management here and in the surrounding regions. They spent about a week planning. And when you look at the amount of rainfall we've gotten, certainly as a statewide event, one of the most significant that we have ever seen. The damage goes from our Mississippi River counties all the way to the furthest part of Pike County. So this was something that truly hit everywhere. But when we look at flooding, certainly Eastern Kentucky got the worst of it. And it's not been that long since you got the worst of a couple other disasters too. Somebody once told me that God saves his toughest challenges for the toughest people. And Eastern Kentucky is filled with tough, strong people. But I want you to know the rest of Kentucky, and whatever I can do, the rest of the United States is going to stand with you here in Eastern Kentucky to make sure we get this job done. The most recent numbers we have is, thankfully, we're still only confirming 11 fatalities across Kentucky, but that still puts us as a very deadly natural disaster. A significant number of those were sadly people deciding to drive through standing or running water. And certainly, if we experience other flooding events in the future, we want to really encourage people not to do that. As we move forward, we know that there's still high water in a lot of places. There's still a lot of washed out roads. And we need to communicate to people, don't go around the barriers. Don't go through that water. We've already lost enough. We don't want to lose anybody else. We can find another way for you to get where you're going. Just please be safe. We want to thank all of our USAR teams from across Kentucky that came in from every single part. And as a judge would tell you, we surged a lot of our resources here in Ashley, down in Prestonsburg, and throughout the region. There were more teams in Eastern Kentucky than anywhere else because we knew what the concerns could be. We're also thankful we had teams in from Indiana, Ohio, and Missouri, so a lot of other states answered our call to provide that assistance. We're now down to 12,297 customers without power. I know a lot of them are here in Pike County. We were just in a home whose power just came on. And we hope anybody else here whose power is off, we see that happening because it's about to get really cold. And that's why the warming centers and having shelters are incredibly important. If your power isn't scheduled to come back on for another couple days, find a warm place because unfortunately we're also going to get anywhere between 2 to 6 inches of snow in this area starting Tuesday night into Wednesday night. I know that's not fair, but it's still what we're facing. We want to make sure we get all the rescues done before that we're not doing boat rescues in a snowstorm. We want to make sure we have everybody somewhere safe and warm to where we don't have to have first responders out in the middle of the night, Tuesday night, helping people to get to a safer place. Drinking water still significantly impacted. Elkhorn City, not operational. That's the only one that is fully inoperable right now, but was practically underwater. So everybody is doing their best to get that back up and online. 26 systems under limited operation, 28,576 services under a boiled water advisory, and about 17,000 service connections without water at all. Wastewater systems also hit around the state. When you have this much water, it creates a lot of pressure and it bursts a lot of lines. And so we've got to deal with what we have now, and then we've got to do a lot of rebuilding afterwards. Rapid needs assessment. We're trying to tell everyone around the state, if your life's in danger, call 911. But if you're concerned about other needs, we have a number which is 502-607-6665. That's if you don't have enough food, if you can't get out of your property or your area because of the water. You can also call your local folks here, but we want to make sure that 911 is open for those in emergent situations. We have 12 shelters open across the state. Again, really important based on how cold it's going to get. And if I can give you all some brand new information. Earlier this morning, we realized that in Martin County, we had 2 apartment complexes that were going to be without power for multiple days, not going to get back up when it gets cold. The water was rising, and in fact, the parking lot around it was underwater, and we were worried about the safety and life of a lot of families that are there. Thanks to 9 separate helicopters, including several from out-of-state, National Guard and KSP, as well as a number of boats from a lot of different places. We have now evacuated 237 Kentuckians that have been successfully rescued. We have 6 left to go. I was there at Little Sandy at the airport with these families getting off, thankful that they were safe and really grateful for the National Guard of our state, of Tennessee, of Indiana, Kentucky State Police, and everyone else who made that happen. We couldn't get to them for over a day and a half, so this is a really good moment where we know that all those individuals are safe. Today, we are applying to FEMA for individual assistance, which we believe we should qualify for. Now, I will say we've been through that in the past, and there are some challenges with it. But the first thing it does is open up dollars for immediate needs. I think that's about $750 that people can qualify for, and that's just the immediate needs. That is not the total. There were rumors that went around before. Then there's about $300+ for cleaning and sanitizing, and a lot of people are going to need that, and that can help them out. And then there's the regular individual assistance where people can qualify for just over $42,000. We're already talking to the judge, the mayor, and others on making sure we can set them up at the most convenient locations. And you have my promise. I will push on FEMA to make it as easy as it can be, and they're limited by Congress. It can't be easy for them. But I will do everything I can to put as much pressure on to get as many people approved. Listen, I work for you. And the only people that I care about making sure get the very best are you. And so when we get that set up, we're going to be in constant contact to make sure that we're getting people the information they need so that they can apply and get back on their feet. Other avenues of help are going to open up. We're already working with our state legislature on hopefully creating another safe type fund. Those first calls have gone really well, so thank you to Rocky Atkins for helping us and getting that going. And you know what? He's here to help Eastern Kentucky every time there's a challenge. I want to thank your state senator, who I know is going to help us make that happen. You did the last time. And getting that East Kentucky Safe Fund, both Senator Wheeler and Ashley, Representative Tackett Lafferty, were both instrumental in making that happen. So just want to make sure that we thank them and also pre-thank them for the help that we're going to have. But again, hope you see I'm here within 72 hours of when this started. We're not going anywhere. This is going to be just as important as the rebuilding of any other place that's been damaged while I've been governor, and we're going to make sure you get the resources that you need. We turn it over to anybody else, Judge?
No, I'd just like to give some additional numbers and some additional information. Part of the plan right now is we are staging all emergency supplies at the East Kentucky Exposition Center. If you want to volunteer, if you know groups like Samaritan's Purse or others that want to bring supplies in, the number to call is 606-432-0210. That is Pike County Emergency Management. You can ask for Doug Tackett. Doug is our retired emergency management director who we brought out to coordinate that aspect, the volunteers and the donations. I'm going to bring Nee Jackson up just briefly because I know the governor's got another commitment. We are going to be setting up, we have 20 of the travel trailers that we kept from the last flood event when the state offered those to us. Yeah. We're going to get those set up. The governor. We've got more if we need them. We've got more coming in if we need them, and we're going to try to get the infrastructure put in place for those. The governor's already volunteered that. We're going to be getting water out to the local volunteer fire departments to try to get that out to where it needs to go. We are in that process right now. CJ Childers, CJ, you got something you want to say?
The water going out right now, is just going to be in a small limited supply because I'm waiting on more to get in, but just as it gets there, we'll get it out.
Yeah. So we've got water coming in. Water will be going out to the volunteer fire departments in the affected areas today. Let me also say there are some other numbers that you need. The governor touched on this. If it's an emergency, a matter of life or death, call 911. Do not call 911 if it's a matter of a drain stopped up or something like that. If it involves a state road, the easiest way to tell if it's a state or federal highway is if it has painted lines on it. That is a state or federal road. 433-7791 is the District 12 Highway Department number. If it's a matter involving a state or federal highway, call them. If it is a county road, that number is 606-432-6230. The first thing that we're trying to do with our roads is get them open. We have at least 7 county bridges that have completely washed out. I'm sorry, Fabian?
It's already grown to 10 this morning.
We're up to 10 county bridges that are completely gone, and we're still trying to assess the damage. We still have people that we're sending search and rescue teams to try to get into. I want to thank Commissioner Bubby Atkins. He works for Clintwood JOD. He's been in the mining industry. And I want to thank that company because we have a group over a community at Woodman that the bridge washed out, and we're getting access through his company and their owner, I guess, our President Chris Atkins, who is helping get transportation. Rocky knows Chris, to try to get a road cut in to where we can get those folks out. Some of these bridges are going to take time to get put back in place. Some of the road issues are going to take time. Right now, we are still in a rescue mode and a recovery mode, but just the basic recovery in terms of transportation infrastructure is going to take months. We were still working on 2022 flood damage when this happened. We've not been able to get caught up on even routine maintenance because we're still dealing with 4 disaster declarations in 17 months, 3 of which resulted in federal disaster declarations. And let me say this, our emergency management team needs to be especially recognized. Pike County is in the top 10 in declared disasters in the last few years. We've had that many. And Nee Jackson and CJ Childers and Tim Fields and that staff deserves a tremendous thank you because they've worked tirelessly. Nee, is there anything else we need to mention?
There are some FEMA representatives that are in the area today. They're going to be doing what they consider windshield surveys.
Come on up. Yeah, come on up.
I got a call earlier from FEMA, and there are going to be some representatives, and they are legitimate in the area today doing windshield surveys. And this is to speed up the process of getting a federal declaration for individual assistance. So if you see those folks out, they're not supposed to interact a whole lot with the public. They're trying to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time. So they are legitimate FEMA employees. So if you see that in those affected areas, just know that.
And we're actually documenting while we're here for FEMA. They've offered to take any of the media that we or others have so that they can get that done faster. The last thing I'd say is something the judge was saying when we were out seeing businesses and homes. Be careful when you're cleaning up. You know, wear a mask, make sure you're using the right type of equipment. After the floods in 2022, we lost at least 2 individuals during the cleanup. Take some breaks. After that last ice and snowstorm we had, we lost 4 or 5 individuals to cardiac arrest. Listen, we've already lost 11 people, 11 children of God whose families are mourning. We don't want to lose one more. So let's just make sure we're consistently telling our people out there, take it easy while you're doing it. It's one foot in front of the other. It's a lot of damage. It's going to take some time, but make sure you take care of yourself in the process.
One last thing. We have 3 emergency shelters set up right now. Millard Elementary, Pike County Central High School, and Belfry High School. We can open others as needed. Belfry, we've had some trouble getting water back on in that area. They were supposed to have it restored. We can move those individuals if necessary. The Pike County School System Superintendent Bowling has been anything we've asked for, they've done it. But we do have shelters. If you need a warm place to stay, if you need food, call 432-0210. Mayor Carter asked me to mention one thing. The city has been gracious enough to allow us to use the Expo Center on past occasions, and we will be using it to store all the supplies. Here's what we don't need. We need water, we need shock, disinfectants, squeegees, brooms, mops, and shovels. And we do not need clothes.
Yep.
We don't. I mean, you know, a lot of people want to help by donating clothes. We don't have room for those. There will be a time for that. The Dream Center here in Pike, I don't know their number off the top of my head. If you want to donate clothing, you can contact the Dream Center. You can call the Pike County Emergency Management number 432-0210. They can put you in touch with the Dream Center. But right now we need water and cleaning supplies and those types of things to begin with. Do not come to the Expo Center to pick those up. We will distribute those to the volunteer fire departments and any other locations that they will be taken to for distribution. We will make sure the media knows that. Governor.
Great. Any questions?
Governor, Shaquille Mercer with NBC News.
Yeah.
I know yesterday you described the system as one of the most serious events that Kentucky has faced, at least in a decade. I know I think back to 2022, I think around 39 people were lost in
45.
57 in the tornadoes. Is that your reference point? And specifically, just what makes this system so tragic?
You're right that we've been through a lot. In those tornadoes, we ended up losing 81 total, including a bunch from my dad's hometown, which was just leveled. The floods in 2022, I don't have to remind anybody here how bad that was, 45 individuals. When you look at this disaster, it hit the whole state. As opposed to that tornado, it was an F4. It stayed on the ground for 200 miles, which is historic in and of itself. But to have a flood warning, not a watch, and then actual flooding events all over the state. We had over 340 state and federal roads closed because of damage that have happened. We've never seen that before. To have this much rain in this many parts of the state, several of our rivers crested to the highest point they ever have. Several of our cities like Frankfort and Bowling Green got the most rain that they ever had in a short period of time. My hope is that the fatalities will stay where they are and stay lower than those others. But certainly when we look at the damage, especially the damage of statewide, but just the breadth of the storm, certainly one of the worst that we've ever seen.
Governor Bashir, you worried the snow is going to compound all these cleanup efforts and these issues, and what helps there for people with this incoming weather now, especially with people displaced?
Yeah, I am worried about the snow coming right on top, and that's why it's really important in these next 2 days especially for everybody to make sure they're at a safe place. You know, we've got places, whether it's our state parks. Right now, Jenny Wiley is full with parents and kids, but we've got a warm place for them to stay. for the next couple days as we get through them. Take advantage of the shelters. If you're not going to have power back on, it's going to get too cold, and this snow is going to be a huge impact. We also need people to be really thoughtful and careful on the roads. Again, we've already lost people on the roads through flooding. We're going to have our transportation cabinet officials and our county and city folks still working the flooding and the debris removal at the same time that they're trying to work the snow issue. So my hope is we get the lower side, which could be just a couple of inches, but if we get 6 inches, it's going to really complicate the cleanup.
Governor, you mentioned that there was some work done in advance, prep work, before the water came up. What kind of work was that, and how would you say that actually helped the situation?
Well, we were helped first by the National Weather Service and all of our meteorologists. We are grateful for all of our meteorologists from each and every one of our news stations that were talking about this event at least a week in advance. And we're also putting context on it. You know, the fact that only a certain number of days a year would we ever see a forecast like this. What small percent, I think only 2% of forecasts that they ever do looked like this one, and the impact that it could have. So the first thing we had are all the great weather people that were out there telling us about it and also giving us a good idea where it would hit, though it did change in the days up to it. But I got 3 updates a day on what it was looking like at that point. So what we were able to do through what we call our USAR teams, which is a new addition to our Emergency Operations Center, was call in all our urban search and rescue teams, all of our SWIFT water teams, we could look out on what all our helicopter with hoist capabilities were, as well as reach out into other states. And we were moving different teams, say from Louisville and Lexington, into other places before the rain even hit. And then we were able to move the Indiana and other teams down based on the projections of when the rivers would crest and the rest. So at different times, we had 4 or 5 dozen different swift water teams that were out there, and that's how we ended up with 1,000 saves in 24 hours. If you go back to 2022, we had about 1,400 saves in 48 hours. But I'll tell you, this emergency response is one of the best I've ever seen, thanks to amazingly brave people, but also really great coordination and really great professionalism in how they work. We were able to pre-position some National Guard as well. We were able to move some aircraft ahead of time. And so the more heads up we have, we just take all these seriously now. I'd rather over-prepare and people come back and say we spent too much over-preparing than under. Karen?
Governor, you talked this morning about the water going down in many areas except a few where the rivers hadn't crested, Martin County being one. Now that you've done the air rescues from that area, do you feel like air rescues and water safety rescues are completed at this point?
So we had another rescue that was called in on our way here. Now, whether or not we will have another apartment complex that needs to be moved, I don't know if we'll have another apartment complex that needs to be moved, but there are individuals out there that still need help, that are still getting in contact with us. Anything more, Rocky?
The only thing I would add to that is this. We're here in Pike County today, and we're assessing the damage. And the cleanup and recovery, it has started. But what's still going on across the state? As the NBC reporter asked the question, the Green River in West Kentucky is expected to crest and cause serious damage. But if you're standing here and you understand East Kentucky and West Virginia, you've got the Leviza and the Tug that now is headed down 23 north. And driving from Ashland this morning, and you look at the Leviza almost cresting over 23, not hardly, but almost. So you got Leviza and Tug both now. I don't know what time they're supposed to crest. It's happening as we speak in Martin County. I don't know what's going to happen in Louisa. I don't know what's going to happen on down the Big Sandy, but this is so much broader than past natural disasters. Not to lessen those, but this one is so much bigger, so much broader that we're still, and wider, you're right. I mean, we're still in a mode that we were here in Pike County, night before last. I mean, that's what we're experiencing now, what I would say downriver toward the Ohio River now. So, we're in the middle of this, and all of these folks in this room, I came up early today and got with Ray Jones, went over to the emergency operations, and the number of people that are in there from different places is amazing. I mean, we got people here from North Carolina, and you know what happened there. We got folks here that are on the ground and spread out throughout this region, and absolutely, as the governor's talking about how many helicopters getting people out of places, look, you know, it's sad to say what I'm getting ready to say. You know, we're good at what we're doing, but we're having to do it too much. And because we've had to do it too much, I mean, this guy's an expert to coordinate through the people he's put in place to be able to put people in the right places, to be able to respond hopefully at the right time. I mean, let's look around this room at this. State police are here, people from all these different, I mean, they're here in every capacity. You know, I'm an Eastern Kentuckian. Man, we've been punched too much. We've had our guts knocked out. We take a right cross and then an uppercut, and then we get hit in the gut again. But I'm going to tell you about our people. Man, they get knocked down, they crawl right back up. They crawl right back up. Our people deserve better than this. But I'll tell you, the resilience of people in Eastern Kentucky, to walk in a beauty salon a while ago, and to see a lady standing there with tears coming down her eyes. I mean, it's really sad to understand if you're off someplace and you really don't understand what's going on here. Well, I know what this governor's going to do. He's here today. He'll be here tomorrow, this legislature. They're here today. They'll be here tomorrow. And we will react to this situation. And we'll build back a better region than we've ever seen. Because our people have earned it, and our people deserve it. And we're going to stand strong till we make sure that that happens.
I'm going to turn it back over to the judge to close and answer any other questions. I'm headed to Jenny Wiley. We got about 130 Kentuckians that are there. I want to assure them that help is on the way. But just about everybody in here has been a part of the response, and we're really grateful for you. I mean, there's a lot of people who are alive today because of the heroism of folks in this room, whether you were coordinating it from this courthouse or whether you were out on the boat. I just want to thank you for what you all do every day. God bless.
Thanks, Governor. Just a couple things, and then we'll take any questions for Pike County Emergency Management. We have a lot of people who are going to be using propane and other space heaters, portable heaters. We came by a business a few minutes ago where they're filling propane tanks. When this cold weather hits, and we've had this happen in the past, unfortunately, we've had structure fires and we've had people lose their lives trying to use space heaters, propane heaters, kerosene, that kind of thing. Please be careful if you're using supplemental heat. It's very important. Last, I have signed an order putting a curfew in place, and it's not to interfere with anybody's rights. That curfew is from 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It doesn't stop you from going to Walmart or anything like that. If you do not live in an affected area, you have no business being there. You have no business being in the way of rescue crews or cleanup crews. So the order also states that if you are in an area that you don't live and you're not there for rescue or recovery efforts or repair efforts, you're not allowed there. We had this, our road department experienced this on Saturday night. We had people just out sightseeing looking at damage. If you don't live in an area, stay out. We're not going to tolerate looting. Sheriff Scott is going to put every deputy he has out on the road enforcing this. State police will be doing likewise. We're not, again, trying to interfere with anybody's rights, but if you don't live in an area that's been flooded, stay out. You have no business being there unless you're there to try to help somebody. So that concludes the press conference. I do want to mention we've had a lot of collaboration, our state legislators, the city of Pikeville, the city of Coal Run, and I do want to send my condolences to Elkhorn City Mayor Nathan Bryant. Nathan's dad, Scotty, lost his life on Saturday night. I had been texting with Nathan, and apparently his dad was trying to clean the culvert out and ended up in the water some way. And we want to extend our condolences to Mayor Bryant. So that concludes the press conference. If any of you have questions, we'll be happy to try to answer those.
Rick,
Tim?
from a historic perspective, could you just briefly mention what the cut-through means to this area?
Well, two things, and the mayor brought this up just now. The cut-through that Mayor Hambley envisioned saved the city of Pikeville from the same type of flooding that we had in 1977. I was just a little boy, and I remember that event. All these businesses downtown. We also need to mention the Fish Trap Reservoir. If they had not held water back, what that allowed the city of Pikeville to do is get water out of the city pond. If not, we would have had flooding in the city of Pikeville because, you know, you have Town Mountain area, you have Harold's Branch, you have Cloy Creek, all of that empties into the city pond. So if we had more water coming in than we could hold in that reservoir, and we couldn't get it out because the river was up. So if the river gets up too high, then you've got an issue about whether you can get the water out of the city. So the mayor, we need to thank the Army Corps of Engineers as well. So that was a huge factor. Anybody else?
Do you know roughly just how many people in Pike County have been displaced, like in the shelters right now?
The last numbers we had, don't hold me to this, roughly 85 at
86 at Belfry High School, 75
at Pike Central, and 14 or 15 at Miller.
And Jenny Wiley State Park, the lodge is full. That's where the governor's headed now.
We anticipate with the cold weather moving in that there could be additional individuals needing those shelters. They're going to be kept open. We right now have 75 power company workers that we are housing at Mullins Elementary School. So we're bringing in all the resources. Kentucky Power has been, spot on trying to get power restored. They've cut that number way down. It's just been a team effort. And unfortunately, this is going to be a long and protracted recovery. Thank you all.